Did you see our Twitter account yesterday? It exploded.
Yeah, I did.
Crazy.
I know. You know why?
What was that?
Because we talked about, do you love one of your kids more?
I'm telling you,
I had
man.
a lot of people text me on that. They were like, it felt confessional.
Yeah.
They're like, literally, I had people like, well, now I know you're a psychologist, you know, and I'm like, no, I need to tell you something.
I know, right?
Well,
I got the same thing. I had, by the way, you're listening to the Kurre and Klapow show on the Tony Curry Radio Network, Tony Curry Radio on Instagram as well as Twitter and Facebook. It's weird because I had people texting me saying, "Were you talking about me?"
Yeah.
I have 3 dudes say, "Were you talking about me?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like,
conglomerate of all of you.
Well, yeah, and I always go, "I wasn't talking about you." Yeah.
What's the word? You're the inspiration for.
Yeah, if you missed the show yesterday, and you can podcast it later today, wherever you listen to your podcast
right.
on Audio Boom. We have new podcast up every single day, and also on the Kurre and Klapow YouTube channel. Subscribe to it; it's great. We were asking, is it okay to love one child more than the other? And then we kind of threw the love thing out because love is like, you know, you will never say you love one more child than the other, but is it okay to like or have a lot more in common when one more and admit it?
Well, but see, I won't get back into it. That's easier. I think you can come clean on that one. I think it's the harder one is to...
I find it really hard to come clean on.
It's easier to come clean.
It's taboo to sit there and say, yeah, I like this child. When I say like, I mean, if I had my druthers, who do you want to spend the day with, this one or this one? I'm going with that one.
See, but I think that one's actually easier. Yeah. Easier than the next level, right? And that's how we ended the show.
You went right for the jugular, man. You're like, do you actually love one child?
And
more than
that, I mean, that's more squishy. Mm-hmm. And I think it's easier to say. Of course, I love my children equal, because it gets into like, well, how do you define love?
Yeah.
And what my whole point was, I've talked to people who, it's like, it's okay, safe space here. No one's gonna know. Be honest.
Yeah.
And I think what I've heard people say is, you know, and it's not that I don't love one child. Mm-hmm. It's not I love this one and I don't love this one. It's like we were talking about yesterday. Maybe I love this one, but I love this one slightly less. And man, listen, nobody has to go there. Like, that's not a place I have to go there, and it's not a thing that you have to talk about.
Yeah.
But the reason we do that on this show, and listen, if you're asking my ulterior motive on this, it's I want you to think. I want you to be honest, because if you say to yourself, yeah, I don't love this one as much, there's an opportunity for that love to grow.
Yes.
So that's all. Like, I ain't getting in your face. I'm not going to say anything. So just...
No, and I'll share something.
That's like deep cuts, correct?
Yeah, right. I'll share something incredibly personal because I just went through a divorce where child custody was the biggest part of it, and you start thinking about, okay, can I live my life without my kids? Mm-hmm. And you think about, and it really makes you dive into those. Each individual child, okay, what's my life going to be like without seeing this one every day, this one every day, this one every day? And obviously you don't split kids up, so you leave them, you have to keep them together. It's the most healthy thing for them. And so, yeah, I mean,
You've been there.
Yeah. I have a lot more commonality with one child. One needs a lot more care than the other one does. The other one's older, and then you throw in ages.
Yeah,
you throw in some that 16-year-olds, they don't want to be hanging out with their dad anymore. Some do. I'm very, very close to my 16-year-old. Then I have a daughter who, according to me yesterday, I don't have as much in common because she's a female and I'm a male, and so it's super tough. But I mean, I can equally say that there's different types of love for all, and across the board. I'm never going to say that I love one more child than another, because I could never do that. I can't do that because I have a lot of different love for my daughter than I don't have for my son, and vice versa. And so it's equal for me. It is okay.
Absolutely, and there are situations where you have a child who is so difficult so problemsome, so horrible that it gets to the point where
I don't, but yeah.
No, where one does, where you do say that. And the one other thing I would say is kind of like a relationship, but sort of like a relationship on steroids. You know how people change over the course of a relationship. We always talk about that. People change, and the problem you run into if you're in a committed relationship is if this one's changing and you're not, or you're not going in the same direction, right? That's a problem in relationships. Well, with kids, it's insane because it's like change on steroids, right? So I always tell people, get what they don't love now and what you don't love now could change in 6 months from now.
Sure.
Which is, it's a little, that's different than a couple relationship, which tends to not change quite as much.
Well, and think about this too, because you went through the whole gamut of, is that child doing what I want them to do or what I think they should do? Think about a father who's got a son who's playing maybe Pop Warner football, and they're really into it, and it's the weekend thing. And I always talk about fathers and mothers who specialize on weekends with a particular child who's really good at sports, and all of a sudden they decide at 12 or 13 it's not what they want to do anymore.
Yep.
And you've had that thing going on for like 6 or 7 years every Saturday.
Yeah.
And you're like, what are you talking about? And all of a sudden you have to kind of rediscover it. And then you're like, okay, was that the reason why I love this child more, or why I spent more time with this particular child? And it's not always about how much more time you spend with one child over another, but sometimes it is. We got a monster show for you today. Great stuff to get into. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is going to have its induction ceremony on October 30th. Tina Turner, Jay-Z, who was up for first nomination, got in. The Foo Fighters, having a big year because the VMAs just put them as their first iconic group. They've got this new Icon Award where you're iconic, and the Foo Fighters are the first recipient of the iconic VMA.
Of all the...
Right now, yeah.
No, I love Foo Fighters, but
I don't...
Maybe they don't go back as far.
I don't go as far as to say I think the Foo Fighters are iconic at this point.
That's why
I think they will be. For me, for many they already are, but they're having quite the year. The Go-Go's got in the first shot. Carole King and then Todd Rundgren.
Carole King hasn't been in before.
No.
That's so surprising when we do this. We do that every year. The ones who got in the first time, and the ones who haven't been in it yet.
She's been nominated 1 million times. And I guess as long as you get in, there are some acts that, like Bad Company's not in. I don't get it. I don't know how they're not in. But again, I was talking about Kenny Stabler. A lot of people believed he should have been in Canton. Now he is, but it was posthumously, and it's like he should have enjoyed that while he was alive. But there's always one or two that, and if you go to, I know this because if you go to like Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I was trying to tag them this morning on my post on Facebook. I was trying to find the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame Facebook page, and there's like 1,000 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for Iron Maiden, for Poison, for this, for all these groups of people.
They're PACs. People. They're like PACs.
Yeah,
political PACs.
And Todd Rundgren had one too. So Todd Rundgren is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but he ain't going, and I love it. Okay. I love why he's not going.
Oh, why is he not going? We're going to get into that.
Well.
Okay.
A man in Florida was arrested yesterday for driving naked. I want to get into that and other driving rules. I'll throw a little.
That feels like, depending on the interior car, that could be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and also something that I know you're dying to get into, the Cara Levine story, which is Cara Delevingne, should I say.
Yeah.
She was at the Met Gala last night, which is like the VMAs, man. I mean, they get.
Did you see the dresses?
It's unbelievable, and they were celebrating independence. It was the country's independence. It was a very patriotic type of feel to it, and so everyone was wearing the red, white, and blue, and man, it was the who's who of people showing up.
Yeah, it was.
It was crazy, and the dresses were like outrageous. Well, Cara Delevingne wore the shirt.
What is she? Is she a model? What is she? I don't know.
She's an actress model.
Okay. Okay.
That said, "Peg the patriarchy," and someone's like walking up, and it looked like a painter's vest almost. It was sexy, but it looked like something she just threw together,
Yeah, it didn't look like several of the other dresses.
No, and a lot of people were like, "What does that mean?" And she's like, "If I have to explain it to you, you probably need to go Google it." And then someone said, "What's peg mean?"
Oh,
and she's like, "Okay, if you don't know what peg means, I didn't know what it meant."
So I did not watch last night. So somebody was asked. This was in an interview.
Yeah, on the red carpet.
I didn't see it.
And she's like, okay, go Google Peg.
Sorry.
And they're like, okay. And then you can see the dude and the guy's in his face like, oh my gosh.
Well, if you Google,
she goes,
if you Google Peg, the first thing that comes up is not that.
It's the cartoon.
No, it's just it's a thing that sticks in a hole. I mean, it's a non-sexual thing. So the first definition, you got to scroll down. She said, I'll paraphrase it for you. It's called sticking it to the man. Yeah.
In a couple of different ways.
Yeah.
It's sticking to the man, but it's her writing Peg the Patriarchy wasn't a sexual overtone at all.
No.
It was about sticking it to the man.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what pegging is,
go look it up.
You go look it up and then come back to us in about 2 or 3 minutes. Get on your phone and go, holy crap. Because if you're a dude, you're like, what? And so I took it because I knew you were like, I'm not going there. Like, oh, you're going there because this is what Kurre and Klapow do. We go there. We will go there, and you will go there.
I know.
And you should be happy that I brought it up to you before you came in here because we were going there, and I thought, and the only reason I brought it up is because we had a thread going with a friend of ours, and I can't believe he didn't know what it was.
Yeah, that's the Brian
Christine at Urology Center.
I mean, he knows everything about those things.
I thought for sure he would have known. He's like, no, do tell. And I'm like, you don't know what.
That's really interesting. I was surprised.
So I turned it into a dating trend.
That's when I was out.
Well, then I sent you an article this morning.
I saw the article, yeah, which I love.
You want to talk about
it was
an
written.
Icebreaker.
It was written though they had a.
It was a doctor that wrote it.
Yeah, they had the columnist brought on as a sex therapist to discuss it in a very clinical way. It would be as if we had Dr. Misty on, which look, you can talk about. I don't think there's what I told you was I don't have a problem talking about it. That's not my area of expertise when it comes to intimacy and sexual relationships. Yeah, that's a Dr. Misty thing.
Well, and I was taking it more not from the actual.
Yes.
The idea.
I wonder how many people right now are listening to us and going.
I'd be surprised how many because I.
You do?
I think I know.
Yeah, you didn't know that.
I didn't know what it was. I mean, by saying Peg the Patriarchy rhymes, I was kind of like, okay, she's obviously taking a stab at something. And then it was like, stick it to the man. I was like, okay. And I'm thinking to myself, you
stick a peg in their eye or like in the chest?
I don't want to get all the way into it now because we're going to go an hour. Okay. But the women like that scare the hell out of dudes.
They should.
And I'm thinking, man, how bad did someone give it to you that you feel like you need to proclaim it?
We are going to go this. It's not just her. Like that. This is the patriarchy.
But I mean, and I know she doesn't.
She's also making a statement.
Just because you're with a woman or you know a woman who may be a feminist or stands up for women's rights or even wears a shirt that says "Peg the Patriarchy" doesn't mean she hates guys.
No, she hates the patriarchy.
She just hates certain types of guys. But as men, we don't take it that way. We're like, I ain't going there because I know I'm going to hear about it. Because that is a woman who has had bad experiences
okay.
Women who have not been treated badly by men
will still
in their entire life don't wear a shirt that says "Peg the Patriarchy."
Oh, no, but they may absolutely agree with "Peg the Patriarchy."
They could, but more likely they're not.
Oh no,
if
you're
had
wrong.
A woman, no.
You're totally wrong.
No, you're totally wrong. Again. If for the most part, if there's a woman who's been treated incredibly nice her entire life
by every man that she's ever interacted with,
for the most part, she's got a good dad.
Find one.
What's happened?
Find one. I'm not talking about dad and husband. Find a woman who says she has not been negatively impacted.
There's usually been something that puts them in order to be an activist for something in your life. You normally you've had something that has directly affected.
Yeah, like I'll tell you what, like a friend or a daughter who didn't get hired because she's a woman, or yourself.
Like, wow. And to wear that at a Met Gala, I'm like, wow, there must be something that's really stuck in her craw.
Yes, and she has the platform.
I mean, maybe she worked with Harvey Weinstein. I
don't
know.
But see, I think you're going. What I'm saying is, that is true, but you're taking it too far to the extreme. Well, what I mean by that is it doesn't have to be a Harvey Weinstein situation to be that upset about the patriarchy.
Well, and I could see her point just because the industries is in.
Well, that's exactly.
She sees it everywhere. It's probably happened to a lot of her friends.
That's kind of what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
So
but not just sexual, and not just sexual harassment.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. It doesn't have to be sexual harassment to look at the inequalities that women face in the world.
Sure. No, yeah, and that
go to Afghanistan right now,
guys, because
yes, we're
talked
about
in with all these other knuckleheads, and not all guys are like that. We had a whole show on Men Are Pigs a couple weeks ago that you could also podcast, which was fantastic. We're not all pigs. We do dumb things.
Well, not all guys are
pigs at some point during our lives, but we're not all pigs here, and so. To be pigeonholed into you're taking an entire gender,
yes,
and saying, okay, you guys are this, and that's a scary. I've been on dates with women like that.
Well, it's scary because because
you feel like you got more to prove.
Well, you do.
If you go out,
you do.
Yeah, I know.
You're on the losing team. Like that's the way I think.
I know.
That's exactly.
That's not really fair to the guy. Because you could be a really nice guy, and she's got overtures.
But think about sports. Think about sports. Let's use a sports analogy. I agree with you, but think about sports. You've been playing for your whole career for a losing organization that is also known for unscrupulous practices. Mm-hmm. And you're like, hey, I'm on the up and up. I've done it right. Yeah, but you know what? Nobody cares because you're on this team. And this team is really bad.
It's like being on the 1919 Black Sox.
Yes. And
every person on that team, there were some people saying I had nothing to do with this scam, and people don't care.
But see that, and that's the thing that I say to men is stop getting so defensive because own the fact that you are part of a gender that has done horrible things to women. I didn't say you did it, but you are guilty. You are potentially guilty by association,
and you have the opportunity to change that.
There you go. That's all I'm saying.
But it also doesn't mean that you may have been with a woman who really was done wrong.
Yes.
And there's a lot of work to be done there.
Yes. Be compassionate. But be compassionate. Don't play it off as I've seen guys do this too. Hey, look, I didn't do anything wrong to you.
It's like dating a woman who's been in an abusive relationship. There's a lot of work to be done.
Well, yeah,
there is, and I mean that's. I'm not.
Well,
saying,
I mean, you can make the argument. You can make the argument that as a gender, there is collectively it's been an abusive relationship. I mean, again, I'm not talking just sexual abuse. Look at the workplace. Yep. The workplace is a perfect example. I mean, and you can do it in every industry. The sports. Oh my God, we got a female referee. What happened? Oh my God, we got our first female VP.
Yep.
So that's my part, and that's where the patriarchy is the idea that men have created historically unfair, biased practices against women in order to stay in power and control. And you know what? They've done a damn good job of doing that.
Yep.
They've done that. And now, and this is what I think make a lot of men nervous. And again, not sexual harassment. They watch women are rising up. They have to compete with women in the workplace. Look, she's running for VP. She's going to be VP, and you're going to be VP. Oh, guess what? She's smarter than you, so you don't get to, and you no longer get to play it because you're a male.
And you know where you've seen that most? During the pandemic.
Yeah.
If you're a woman out there right now and you own a business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It has been super hard on you. Mm-hmm. It's been super tough on you getting your back on your feet. I know 3 different independent women who own businesses that were very successful before the pandemic and can't get help. And I don't know if they're not looking in the right spots because
do they have kids?
Money knows no gender.
Do they have kids?
They do.
Yeah, so there's the other expectation that still has never changed.
And it's like, it's they were on the cusp of maybe doing something where the business was going to provide for the entire family.
Yep.
The father certainly had his job and his corporate thing or whatever. He was doing his thing and nothing changed there. But they had their side gig and they were doing their thing and it was successful and it was doing very, very, very well, and it just broke apart, and now they're kind of like they feel like they've been set back to the Stone Age, and that's
right. And he's not gonna.
And then there's there's special loans out there for women businesses,
of course,
as there should be. Florida man was arrested on charges he exposed himself on various toll collectors over a week span. Was arrested yesterday.
He's bored.
The Florida Highway Patrol said in a statement that Mark Anthony Philawaw was booked into the Ascali County Jail on Saturday. All 7 instances happened on 3 days around 7 a.m. as he entered the cash lanes of the toll plazas. Toll workers told troopers the man had no clothes on and was showing his privates.
He's paying to do that, too. Like what? You know what I mean? Like of all the places.
I don't know. How many axles do I have? Why don't you tell me how many axles I have?
Well, I can't find the quarters. I'm going to have to bend over now.
He was identified through a photo comparison with his identity matched. Philawaw faces multiple charges of indecent exposure. So, I was thinking to myself, now wait a minute. Is it illegal to drive naked?
I don't know.
I'm going to tell you.
Okay, because you've done your research.
Because if I'm driving around and I don't have any clothes on, I don't know too many people like to do that just because it's kind of sticky on the seats. It depends on what you're sitting on.
You got to worry about the seatbelt.
But you're down in Florida.
Yeah, it's hot.
I actually had a neighbor
who drove naked?
at my last house who got home and for some reason she decided to go get Taco Bell at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Naked?
Yeah.
That's harder on women anatomically.
It really
with the
is.
seatbelt.
And I doubt she had her seatbelt
Oh, okay.
on. And she was arrested. Well, she was drunk. I mean, that was
I was going to say that.
I don't
it's
know.
not the there's layers.
But I mean, had she had clothes on, she wouldn't have been arrested because she would have looked somewhat normal, even though she was gurgling.
Wasn't that indecent?
It was
the law of indecent exposure.
Yeah. So, but if you're in your car
and nobody sees,
and no one sees you,
well, then it's not indecent exposure.
Exactly. So, is it legal to drive naked? Yes or no?
No.
It is legal to drive naked in all 50 states. It depends on where you're at. And it depends on how you're getting into your car and getting out of your car because when you're outside your car,
then it's indecent exposure.
And it's not your house. It's not an enclosure. So the inside of your car is considered a public place, but if people don't see you. But for the most part, if you get pulled over and you're naked, they're not going to arrest you. They're probably going to ask you a ton of questions based on what you look like and why are you driving around naked. But
if you get into your car in your garage,
or you take your clothes off once you get in the car.
That's what I mean.
It's not illegal.
Because
it's not illegal. There's no
yet.
law that says you cannot drive naked in any car. Is it illegal to drive barefoot? My kid just got his driver's license a few months ago, and so we were talking about several of these things.
I hope not.
And it's not. Actually, some people would say that it's better to go barefoot than it is to wear flip-flops. But for the most part, in all 50 states, it is legal to drive barefoot. You don't have to worry about that.
I've been driving barefoot for a long time.
Easy one here. Can you take a right on red?
Unless it says no sign.
Exactly. And
you must pause and yield to ongoing traffic.
One thing I thought was really interesting, too, because I was getting
what are you doing? I was
getting on when I pulled up, can you drive naked? I had these new laws. I was like, I never knew that. Because there's some laws that you would think that that's got to be a law. It's not. Like I'm getting off Acton Road, and there's a yield sign. I never stop. Even when the stoplight, there's a stoplight, and there's a yield sign. I never stop at a yield sign because you're getting a run on the traffic as it's coming down.
You got to yield.
McDonald's. So you do have to yield, but at a yield you don't have to stop, even with a traffic light.
Wait, so red light and yield?
Red light.
Yield. They're messing with you.
No, red light. And if it's a red light and there's a yield sign, you can go through the red light as long as you're yielding to the oncoming traffic.
That's not fair. That's a confusing.
Because my son asked me, he goes, because there was a cop sitting there.
Hang on, because then there's also, and I know the one you're talking about, we have one where there's a red light, yield, and a green arrow. Sometimes.
Yeah.
So if there's a green arrow, and this happens, I know exactly what you're talking about, what drives me bananas, is there's a green arrow, yield, red sign. You got the green arrow.
Green arrow.
Go.
But without the green arrow, I'm thinking, do I need to stop first and then take a right? No, because then there'd be no reason to have a yield sign. If there's no yield sign, you would stop, and then you could take a right on red. But when you're coming off an interstate, if there's a yield sign and it's red, you can blow through it.
Okay.
And so I do, and then I get all the way in the left-hand lane and drive by alternating. So that's good.
Good.
Is it legal to ride the back of a pickup truck?
Not
here in the state of Alabama.
I was going to say
like
here.
That's the only way.
That's right. Yeah, no, I was going to say it's got to vary by state.
For the most part, in all 50 states, it is legal to drive to ride in the back of a pickup truck. Now, it's not necessarily safe. You can say, well, what about the seatbelt laws? It just depends on what road you're on. Obviously, if you're going down the interstate,
that's reckless, right?
Yeah, but I saw that yesterday. I saw a group of Latinos in the back of a pickup truck. They were sitting on the outside of the pickup truck. I was like, whoa. But for the most part, yeah, rural roads, you're good to go. Nothing's going to happen. Now, if you've got like a family of 15 back there and you get a little baby and you're hanging, then you're probably looking at some other things. Here's one I was wrong on. Is it okay to warn other people about speed traps by flashing your lights?
Oh, don't tell me that's illegal. Is that illegal?
I don't know. Is it?
I was going to say there's no law against it one way or another, but you're about to tell me that it's illegal.
There was a law until 2014.
I
told my kids, I said, because someone was flashing the lights the other day.
And he's like, oh no.
And he's like, is it okay to do that? And I said, no, it actually isn't. And he's like, it's not. I said, no, you cannot warn people of a speed trap. If cops see that, you're dead meat. Well, I was wrong. As of 2014, that law is out. You obviously don't want to bring attention to yourself, depending on what your situation is, right? But there is nothing illegal about flashing your lights and letting people know there's a cop sitting there.
Well, I mean, Waze does that. Waze, you use Waze, they rely on their community.
No, that's the internet. They can do whatever they want.
No, while you're driving, to point out. I love.
See, that's a bunch of. I got on that thing like one time, and by the time you get on there, it's gone.
You need to. That's your job as part of the Waze community to indicate safely while you're driving.
You got a better shot at getting in a wreck while you're posting on a Waze than just driving the speed limit through that small little area. I mean, now if I'm driving home and I'm a drunk and it's 3 o'clock in the morning,
well, you can't read your Waze
then
anyway.
I wouldn't get on there anyway.
Right.
And then I go, hold on, I got to pull off the side of the road and hit my Waze to let the next guy know this is the. Yeah, I mean, come on. Finally, is it okay to swear at an officer or flip him the bird?
Is it illegal? Well, is that like disorderly conduct? I would say it's illegal.
It is not illegal. You can do whatever you want, say whatever you want. You have that right to say things. Now, again, are you helping your cause by telling a police officer to F off or flipping the bird?
But you
cannot be arrested for swearing or flipping the bird to a police officer. Now, they could construe that as disorderly conduct.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
If you would say, hello, police officer, F you, and smile.
Then you're okay?
Yeah, there's nothing they can do about you if you want to go to court over it, but you cannot be arrested for swearing off.
So as long as you're not belligerent.
But the problem is, in most cases, if you are being belligerent or you're flipping the bird or cussing off, you're usually out of your brain and you're going to be disorderly conduct. But you could politely say, good afternoon, officer, you're a and blah, 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 blah. There's nothing they can't arrest you for that.
Very interesting.
So now you know. So Todd Rundgren, who I've got a chance to see down at a work play, he was fantastic down there. We did a meet and greet with him. He was super cool. There was one guy that had evidently been to like thousands of Todd Rundgren concerts, and he had a guitar, and Todd knew who he was, but the guy just overextended his stay. And it was kind of like, okay, I signed your guitar. He had Todd sign the guitar every time he was at a show, and so there was like 1,000 Todd Rundgren.
Okay, yeah, that's a little.
And it was kind of like, thanks for coming to the show, and I go away, blah blah blah. And he got up there basically and played I Saw the Light and said, for all you, said something quite derogatory, for all you wusses out there that think you're going to hear Hello, It's Me and all these slow songs all night, I got another thing coming. This is the only one you're going to hear that you recognize. And he played I Saw the Light, and then he ripped into Lunatic Fringe, Red Rider. It was a great show. I mean, he got after it. And then I saw him with Ringo Starr in the Ringo Starr band. He did Love Is the Answer, which is the song he actually wrote.
He wrote that?
Yeah. He did the original version. You should listen to it. It's like, because Todd's not a great singer.
Right.
But his version of it is like.
He did Love Is the Answer. Who redid Love Is the Answer?
England and John Forclore.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
If you hear
that's a bizarre, like I can't even imagine.
You should listen to it because you'll hear it. It's not melodic. It's like All of the Road, but it's really good. It's totally different. And I mean, he goes off on it. It's fantastic.
So Todd,
it's
these
so
are
different. You have to love it.
rocker singing cheesy 70s love songs.
Yeah. He's a cool dude. Anyway, he was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and he'll be inducted along with Jay-Z, Foo Fighters, Tina Turner, Carole King, and the Go-Go's. He's going to be in Cincinnati, Ohio, a few miles away, down a little bit, doing a show at Riverbend Music Center. And so he said, but even if I wasn't doing a show, I'm not going. He said it's been up and down, in and out with them. Talk about the Rock and Roll of Fame. My relationship with the Rock and Roll of Fame, quite obviously, has not been copacetic. I have offered to do something live for them from my venue. I will stop my show and acknowledge the award and mostly acknowledge my fans because it's for them. They're the ones who wanted it, and they got it. Another one of those Rock and Roll Hall of Fame fans for Todd Rundgren or whatever. And
Right.
So it's a celebration for them, not so much for me. I could care less. I've been totally willing to do that, but for me to do something extraordinary for the Hall of Fame would just be hypocritical at this point. You know, I'm not too much on record about my feelings. He's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a scam and told Billboard it's no secret I don't care about them. I've striven since the nomination to just say nothing because I don't want to rain on anyone else's parade. A lot of artists take this very, very seriously. Just because I don't doesn't mean I should try and spoil it for them. So, you know, I haven't really had much to say about it. I would just like to elapse without any kind of bad vibes or anything being a result of it. I just like it to happen to be over with.
No, that's sour grapes, and he really wishes he was in it.
You think so?
Yeah, well, because you said why is he not having had an amicable relationship with them? Like,
well, a lot of people haven't had an amicable relationship with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame just because the way they choose their artists. Right. They do have a fan vote. Again, I can bring up bad company. I mean,
is he upset about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the way they choose in general, or the way they choose and haven't chosen him?
Probably a little bit of both.
Yeah. When you get that upset.
Yeah, when you're a first-year inductee, you love the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because you're already in.
Right.
If you're one of those people on the outside looking in, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, then you probably get.
Well, Tina. What'd you say? Tina Turner or Ike Turner?
Tina Turner.
Yeah, Tina Turner. You got Tina Turner. You got Tina Turner, Carole King, and Jay-Z.
Mm-hmm.
And they could all respect each other's music.
Yeah.
But just from a generational age thing, Tina's probably going.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, internally, like, okay, that's great. You brought Jay, but I've been around since Jay-Z was in like diapers.
Mm-hmm.
But that Todd Rundgren, that's very telling. That's always telling. When people are like, I don't care, when they scream, I don't care, they care. I don't care. It
go for anything.
Yeah, a lot of things. Yeah. When you,
I don't listen to this. I don't read social media. I don't listen to news.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, you do.
Or it's done you wrong somehow.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you wouldn't have any emotion.
Yeah.
Right? You'd be just neutral about it. No, I don't read social media. Yeah, I'm telling you, if you
don't read social media, why are you bringing up you don't read social media?
Well, someone asked you
because it doesn't exist.
No, so to Tony, Tony, do you do you read social media? Do you look at social media? No, I don't. Mm-hmm. Oh, come on, Tony. Come on, Tony. I do not. I don't have time for that. We'll go on Nick Saban. I don't know that Nick Saban looks at it. I'm sure he has somebody look at it. It's like a presidential briefing.
Yeah.
Good morning, Coach.
No, I think when you're still playing, you're still doing your craft too. It probably doesn't mean as much.
Yeah.
Like if you ask Nick Saban, do you care about being in the College Football Hall of Fame?
Right now it does. No.
Or do you care about having a statue? He's like, no, I don't care.
Not now.
I got busy.
But what if he didn't?
I mean, he doesn't even care about. He didn't. I mean, he said he didn't care about surpassing Bear Bryant's record of 6 championships. He respects him for it.
Absolutely.
But he's like, I'm just here to play.
Which is okay.
And at the end of the day, maybe he can sit back and then take it all in and go, wow.
No, his style, you never. I mean, again, I think only, much like any other celebrity, only the people who know him know.
Yeah.
And it's so much easier and fun for us to create the personality of the person we don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah.
We make a story. Oh, well, I saw, and it's not quite conspiracy theory, but we do this. Did you see what they posted here? Did you see what they said about here? And what we do is we craft this sort of this perceived persona. This is who this person is. You have absolutely no idea. You have little snippets.
I always wonder about, because Billy Joel was always like this, but I always wonder about that angry rocker.
Right.
Like that one, it's always got, David Crosby's a little like that, Todd Rundgren's like that, Billy Joel's like that.
Grumpy.
Just grumpy, just mean ass, just not in a good mood ever type of.
Right.
Well, and Jimmy Buffett's kind of like that.
Well, and that's see, Jimmy, that's sad because you look at the kind of music that they play.
I know, and it's like, and I guess as a fan, we kind of like it. We can envelop it. We're like, that's kind of cool.
When you told me about Jimmy Buffett,
Tony Stewart, he's always in a bad mood. It's kind of like, dude, what's wrong? I mean, you've won championships. Like when someone's got to the apex of whatever their skill is, and they're successful, and they have a fan base and people like them, and they're just grumpy. It's kind of like, what is it? Just your demeanor? What's wrong with you? What do you have to be grumpy about? And then we just kind of, that's just him being him. He's just always grumpy. He won't sign my son's.
Well, but that's the thing. Where and when? Where and when are they grumpy? Are they grumpy during autograph signings? Again, I'm just using Coach Saban as an example. He gets up for his pressers, right? And he sort of has this reputation. Besides talking to his players, it's a pretty intimidating. He's not friendly. He's not. So would you call him grumpy?
I mean, no, but I don't really put Nick Saban in the grumpy group.
Well, no, but you could. But what you say
depends on when you catch him.
Right.
He's all about football,
right?
And mentoring and forming these wonderful.
So what about a musician? I'm all about playing. I don't want to sign your autograph.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're the reason I'm here.
Yeah. I don't know. So there's you got to do some rock and roll psychology.
I do. I want to do a show. Bring everybody on.
Todd Rundgren would be.
Yeah.
Like it would take you. I mean, it would go on for years.
Well, some of them got some pretty complicated pasts. The other thing is, a lot of them, as we find out, they're intensely shy. And I don't know that I would say, we always say they're insecure. Mm-hmm. I maybe, but I think they're intensely shy. And when they're performing, that's their stage, and there's protection there, right? There's psychological protection. Sure. This is why the Barbra Streisands and the Adeles and whoever, they all vomit before, because you're in a complete evaluative situation, but at the same time, you are in your comfort. So we've heard this about actors, right? The actors who don't want to be seen in public, or they don't want to talk, or they want. The other thing too, I think, with celebrity, rockers or anybody is we've talked about this. By the way, you see Britney Spears is engaged?
I did.
Yeah. So, I mean, think about... Well, just because the conservatorship...
Yeah, she was seen in a Mercedes.
Did you see she flipped it off and she got the ring and so. But we're
going to wish she is still in conservatorship.
I also think this is when we need to make a hotline call to Damon Johnson. Although Damon Johnson probably takes it a little bit differently. I still think that if your entire life you're hounded, I don't care how much you're up on a pedestal, if you're hounded and hounded and hounded, even people love you. We love you, let me touch you. I think after a while, for a lot of people, even within the celebrity rocker genre, there are a lot of people that just doesn't sit well with. Yeah. It's like, again, Todd Rundgren, leave me the F alone. I just want to play my music. It's almost as if I wanted to play my music and I wanted to make a living playing my music, but I almost didn't anticipate this other thing would happen. Would I have to play my love songs over and over again?
He's 73 years old. The fact that he's still relevant is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Because there's thousands of guys just like Todd, not to his expertise and his skill level, but there's thousands of rock and rollers from the 70s that you just don't even hear about anymore. They're off the road. They don't want to play anymore. They don't do anything. They're dead, whatever. I always wonder, how fame and fortune changes us.
We should ask Damon.
We should, because Damon's one of the most accessible guys, but Damon's still scratching and clawing and fighting. It's like he never feels like he's at the top of the mountain. I don't think he'll ever be at the top of the mountain. I think he could be the lead singer of Metallica, and I don't think he would consider himself that, because he's always striving to be better and play, and he's just incredible that way. But at some point, you get to the point where you're so big and you have so many people trying to find you and get you and everything that you're like, you know what? I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to do the meet and greets anymore. I don't have to build my fan base. I'm selling records. And then you got people like James Taylor who will do a show and stop in the middle of the show and sign every autograph in the house. And I think that is just incredible.
Which is ironic.
He doesn't have to do that.
Which is ironic given his past with depression, introspection, addiction. But that's the thing. You just said it. It is the catch-22. When you become celebrity, everybody does want a piece of you, right? And I don't mean a negative way. They want to be accepted. They love you. They love what you're doing, and that got you there in the first place. And then when you say, I don't need to do this anymore, I don't need to do the meet and greets, now you've immediately crushed the dream of many of the people who thought, you tell me, you've done this with me with Jimmy Buffett. I was a huge Jimmy Buffett fan, right?
Yeah.
Jimmy Buffett fan. Not that I thought he was the greatest guy in the world, but when you look at his music, you look at the way he plays, it makes me so happy, and you're like, he's kind of a jerk. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Like, I don't expect him to be the best, but is he really a jerk?
4 times.
You're right.
And I'm not, but I don't like him any less. I don't see. That's the weird thing is I don't like him.
Maybe he was having a bad day.
4 different times.
How bad was it? Pretty bad?
Yeah, I mean, he was just
aloof.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all met people, celebrities. I mean, I talked about Marty Brennaman, who used to call Cincinnati Reds games for 50 years, and I listened to him every day growing up. I mean, he was part of my vernacular, man. I loved everything. This one belongs to Reds. I loved everything he did, and I saw him outside the BJCC several years ago. He was calling a regional basketball game for the NCAAs, and I rolled the window down and said, Marty, I couldn't believe it was him. He had this big, Marty, my name is Tony. I'm a huge fan. I love you on the Reds, and just sneered at me.
Yeah.
I walked. I was like,
you could have been new.
Oh, it broke my heart. I was 40-something years old. I was like, dude, you know, when you do that to a kid, and Tony Stewart did it to my son. And we had the big head on the wall. I must have spent $1,000 on Tony Stewart stuff, and Santa was like, screw him. I'm not following him anymore.
Well, that's what I'm telling you.
But when you get to that point where you just and then it comes down, because I think humanly we all want to be liked at some level, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, we and this is where we flip. We make the assumption a lot of times we feel that we're not liked. We try, and then it's a screw you. It's me against the world. The world doesn't like me. So for a long time we're trying. I want you to like me. I want you to like me. And particularly if you throw fame in there and power. Yeah. I don't need you because look. I don't need you to like me because I am liked because of my success, my wins, my losses. It happens all the time. It's. And people just have dispositions. I was listening to something this morning about Kawhi Leonard. No one understands Kawhi Leonard, right? Yep. Who is he? He's a weird cat. He's strange. We don't know. They said the same thing about Tim Duncan and others. We don't know. Maybe they're shy. Maybe they're in bed. Look, when we did our Kurre and Klapow thing, and you did you were working the room and you're running the stage and I was so out of my element. I was so uncomfortable for that entire thing.
Really?
Up on the stage and people are dancing and you got me playing the air guitar. I was like, get me out of here the entire time. Get me out. That's not my comfort zone.
Yeah.
That's not my comfort zone. And I feel like we need to give grace to these people. I don't care. We say all the time, well, we're paying their ticket. Well, we're paying their way. They could be having a bad day. Although, the ones who are not like that makes them shine even greater. The ones who will meet and greet with all their guests. The ones who never... They don't always have to be happy. Because I don't think we should expect all artists and all celebrities to be happy all the time. That's freaking weird.
Yeah. No, I'm totally with you.
Polite, or even, hey, look, I appreciate it. I know you came to the concert, y'all, but I'm feeling a little under the weather. I'm a little, and people will hammer on you, but do it graciously.
Yeah, it's really a no-win situation.
Well, yes.
And there's always somebody there that's taking up more time than they actually need, and the rock and roll will go. I've seen it a million times. I'm like, dude, leave him alone.
Right. Well, that's when you need your people. That's when you need your people.
You're ruining for the rest of us because they're in La La Land. They're just like.
Well, that's the other thing.
It's like, dude, it's just a rock and roller, man. He puts his pants on just like you do. But you don't know.
You don't know, right? You've changed my life.
Really, really quiet. And they're just very, very happy, and that's where fans go wrong too. We have to. I understand that rock and rollers have bad days, You think, well, if they agree to do a meet and greet, they got to put on their happy face and da-da-da-da-da. Well, they should. And
yes.
They usually can for 15 or 20 minutes, but sometimes they don't. And quite frankly, fans freak them out.
Well,
they have no clue. They've had fans knocking on their bedroom windows at night in their hotels. They got them chasing after the bus.
Thank you.
They probably brought a little of that on themselves. But let's be honest, man. I mean, we talked about, who's that one person where you'd walk in and your jaw would drop and you would just be like totally paralyzed because you could not believe you're in the same room with this particular person. If Jennifer Aniston walked in this room right now, what would you do?
You keep saying that. Is she going to?
You never know.
I also think that
fans are weird.
They are. It's unpredictable.
There's that really weird Mr. Young, I'm so nice to meet you. I've been a big fan of yours. Thank you for autographing this. Have a great show.
That's it.
That's rare.
Well, that's what you do.
Like, and they're stuffing stuff in your face. Don't forget about me because you don't know when they're going to leave. And it's like,
well, you watch it after every sporting event.
Yeah.
But I don't know why, particularly tennis. I watch when they lose.
Yeah.
And they're walking out and they've lost, and they're sticking like, if that was me. I mean, again, it's not. I'd be like, I just lost. Like, leave me the F alone.
Yeah.
But that is, we've heard this in sports all the time. That is the part about professional sports, or even now with the NIL. That is the part of sports celebrity that you don't get to not have. Yeah. It's we see this all the time. And I love my job, but I hate these 6 parts of it. Well. Understood, acknowledged, but we're paying you to do your job, all 6 parts of it.
Where I've found, and this has been a big blessing for me in my career.
Oh, people love you.
Is when I've gotten them one-on-one, a famous celebrity. Whether it be John Entwistle or Willie Nelson or Ozzy Osbourne, Jackson Brown. I spoke to Jackson Brown for an hour. Arlo Guthrie, I could go on and on and on, where you finally get with, okay, this is the radio guy. He's going to do an interview with you. It's not even a journalistic kind of thing, because I always kind of went in and said, hey, listen, I could turn this off, whatever. I just want to chat. We can have some stories. Jackson Brown, I flipped my tape over 3 different times. It was a 45-minute tape, and finally, like, Jackson, we got to go. It was right after the Daryl Hannah breakup where he
had a lot to say.
And he could have very easily said, I'm not doing anything here because I don't need these questions. Greg Allman, who I interviewed 6 or 7 different times, you'd always no Cher questions. Can't ask him any questions about Cher. And a lot of that was prefaced that way. And it's like, I know he's been asked a million times. We'll go a different route. But that's where you really get to know. I told my David Crosby story, where he came in and was grumpy and throwing food and everything, and I brought him a plate. We sat there and had a nice conversation. That's where you really get to know the person. And I've been blessed enough that I've gotten an opportunity to do that, whereas most fans just see that get away from me. I just got off stage in front of 25,000 people. The last thing I need is another autograph signing.
And even as an interview, I mean, there's a difference. Again, I think about people come see me, and most of the time they're seeing me because they want to. Something's not right?
Yeah.
They come in. Now, I've had times where, whether it's couples therapy, whatever, they're there, or a teenager, they don't want to say anything.
Yeah.
They don't want to be there. And or they're not sure. They don't know how to read me. And there is this super uncomfortable, guarded, because again, I represent, for a lot of people, he's going to get in my mind. He's going to get everything. And it does take, we call it building rapport.
Yeah.
This is why you need 3 sessions of psychotherapy, because at some point you do have to build some trust. It's hard to build trust with anybody immediately, and in fact, we would tell anybody, do not trust 100% somebody that when you just meet them. You should be on your guard. It's a protective thing. It's how So I don't know. You're very good at give people some grace, recognize that they're going to have a bad day. And don't judge them just on that. But this is, and I'm going to go back to it. You're going to hate me for Taylor Swift. This is why she is an icon, and it's why she's an industry.
She's got a lot of people around her that protect her.
No. But I'm not. What I'm saying is,
I know, but I mean, she is masterful at making sure she's not seen in a bad light because of the people she's around.
But she's also not seen.
Because for Taylor Swift, there's a girl named Britney Spears who's like off the chain, I'm just waiting, by the way. Something bad's going to happen with her.
Taylor Swift or Britney?
Britney. I'm not saying she's going to die, but there's going to be another head shake. Something ain't right with her. I'm starting to back up a little bit on this. She was abused and all this garbage. I'm not saying her dad did everything right, but something ain't right up there, man.
Well, but you could be.
Something
we know
just
something
really
wasn't
weird.
right. Listen, we know something wasn't right. That's how the conservatorship went in the first place. The whole conservatorship, there's something not right.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, the fact that she was under a conservatorship in the first place. Okay, there's something wrong.
There's something wrong.
But
Do you realize she got in? And do you realize she got engaged? But again, if you read the conservatorship, what her claim is under the conservatorship, I couldn't see anybody that I wanted to see. I couldn't engage with anybody that I wanted to engage in. I couldn't be in that car.
She was staying at $600,000 hotels with.
Well, but that was approved.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah. Well, maybe she wasn't supposed to be seen with this particular person because her dad knew something about that person she didn't. Listen, she's 30-something years old. Mm-hmm. You eventually have to let the little bird fly.
We're about to find out. Well, she let the bird fly yesterday. Did you see that?
She let the bird fly big time. I'm like, here we go.
I understand that, but there are parts of what she does, given the conservatorship, and I don't know if I'm part of the Free Britney movement, but I kind of like it. I kind of like
she is a train wreck waiting to happen.
Maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. Gotta give it 3 months.
Of what?
3 months. What's the day? September 14th.
Yeah.
3 months from now, she'll end up doing something that's people are going to go.
Oh, but
whether she's walking naked down the street, whether she's doing, she'll be doing something. I mean, she's already posting stuff where she's naked. Something even un-Britney-like. The fact that she's jumping right into marriage, right after a conservatorship.
Well, she's not married; she's engaged.
Yeah, she'll be married soon, and I bet you we don't even know about it. She'll get married in Las Vegas after one of her shows. She'll go to the little old Whitechapel.
So?
Just like Rachel Ross did.
So?
One place where you're always going to get a friendly face, and they're always going to be nice to you because they got no reason not to be nice as Chris Dorsey State Farm team.
That's right. I just talked. By the way, let me tell you, I just talked to him this week.
Did you?
Yeah, because we got a kid going away and out of country, and I didn't know. I was like, okay, I got a car. What do I do? Well, there's a plan for you. We have a plan. I can't remember the name of it, and I mean that's the greatest thing about Chris Dorsey. There are all these things that now I'm doing the commercial. There's all these things that we don't know that are in the industry. And the greatest thing about Chris Dorsey and his team is they don't wait for you to ask the question and then them to answer. What they do is they go, hey, did you know, I know you got this car insured. I know your son is leaving. By the way, we can do something for you so that the insurance goes down. Mm-hmm. By the way, we get this all the time. By the way, we need your kids' grades so that we can keep the low. I forget. So keep going.
The Steer Clear program, which is huge.
All the way through college.
30%. And a lot of times, I mean, I went through a divorce, so my wife's got a car, I got a car, I've got to cover my insurance. Can he drive her car?
Yep.
Can he drive a neighbor's car? Can I drive a neighbor's car? Is it okay if I get in a wreck in my neighbor's car? Am I covered? Does my policy follow me where I go?
Have you ever wondered, by the way, that is one of the most, nobody can figure that out except your State Farm agent.
I know.
It is. I have never been able to figure out. I call them every time any one of us go, am I covered?
What about a rent-a-car? You got to rent a car? You want the insurance policy? Well, sure. I don't know. Because sometimes your insurance covers, sometimes it doesn't. They can answer all those questions. 205-985-7799, 985-7799, area code 205. It's Chris Dorsey State Farm team, long recognized as top 10 agent out of 18,500 across the country. He's fantastic. Check him out. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and their commercials all over the place with Jake. They're fantastic. It's the Tony Curry Radio Network. Go to Tony Curry Radio on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and follow us. Get after it. And, of course, download that KCast Radio app. KCast Radio now part of the Tony Curry Radio Network. We're going to play a 2 for Tuesday after Josh talks about another one of our great sponsors back on Facebook Live and the Tony Curry Radio Network. 2 for Tuesday coming next.
One of the great things about our sponsors is they don't just sponsor the show. I texted with Clete Walker, CEO of Vituro Health, this morning, asking him a couple questions. Vituro Health is amazing. We had them on this past week. It's Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. And Vituro Health has a really simple message for guys. You need to take care of your prostate. You need to live healthy, but there are treatments that are there for you in case you develop prostate cancer that your urologist may or may not know about. And Clee Walker said it today. Go to their webpage, VituroHealth.com. VituroHealth.com, their contact information is there. If you want to know about prostate cancer and the latest treatments, you literally can call Vituro Health and they will give you opinions about what is there. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. Go to their webpage again. It's VituroHealth.com.
All right, Keepers. We'll be back in a minute. That's good. Let's get back into